as we bring in Paul Hamilton here. Paul, I don't know if you knew this or not. It's not exactly the kind of thing people know. Happy birthday, the Sabres. Today is the day the franchise was launched.
Founded, yes.
May 22nd is the. I looked it up because I thought, oh, May 22nd. That sounds like a famous Sabres playoff game in history. I know the Fog game was yesterday, and I'm like, all right, May 22nd, Sabres history. Turns out it's the Sabres' birthday. Happy birthday, Sabres.
No, that's also, Howard Simon's 50th birthday?
Yeah, I believe so. 60th, Paul.
60th?
Yeah.
That day?
Yeah, long time ago. He was considering retirement when they launched, and he just stuck through it for a while. Happy birthday, Sabres. All right, Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. We'll chat some Sabres here, the Bowen Byram stuff there, and an update on Rochester. They lost last night. Paul, the thing about, I know sometimes rumors and insiders and all this, the one thing about Byram and these sort of conversations, it seems to be a pretty consistent message throughout. And I've seen some reporting again that it's about the role that he wants, and he views himself as a kind of a top guy. And here, there's a tough road to be a top guy. So to me, it kind of all lines up. Do they want to pay him? Does he want a different kind of circumstance? Do you buy all this, that they would be shopping him, that they would be considering a move to move things around on the hockey team with Byram being the target to go out?
Well, Kevyn Adams also, if a player says he doesn't want to be here, he's not going to be here. And, one thing Elliott said, which is true, they were talking, well, he cleaned out his house. Well, you can clean out your house all you want. You're stuck here for 2 more years if that's what the Sabres want. Now, Adams has been very consistent with this, that he does not want anybody here who does not want to be here. And if he went in there and told him that he doesn't want to be here, and that would be the reason, that he wants a bigger role, a role he knows he's not going to get when Dahlin is here. And, you can add Power to that list also. Most nights he was better than Power, but more towards the end of the year he wasn't. So he had an up and down year, and basically when he was with Rasmus Dahlin, he played very, very well. When he wasn't, it was average at best. And now you can re-sign him and pair him with Rasmus Dahlin, and it works very, very well for you. But you're kind of pigeonholed then. It's like, well, what happens when you don't want him with Rasmus Dahlin, or you want somebody else with him, or you don't want Rasmus Dahlin playing the right side, or you don't want him playing the right side. It works well when they're together. One of them plays the right side, usually Dahlin, and they don't have a problem with it. They play very well. So if you went out and got player A to play with Owen Power, all right, that's fine. Then Byram can play with Dahlin. But also, do you want to sign a guy for anywhere from $6 to $8 million per season and have him pigeonholed that, well, he's got to play with Dahlin or he's not any good? Or thinking, well, he'll improve, type of a thing with other players. So, if he went in there and told them that he does not want to be a Buffalo Sabre, then they will try to accommodate him.
Paul, what kind of value could Byram get? Is he about the same as he was when the Sabres traded Middlestat? I feel like it's not that long. Could I say, all right, the Sabres traded a Middlestat for Byram. Could they get a Middlestat caliber player? However you think that might be, that's a guy that needs a change of scenery. We know he had his time here. They went to Colorado. He was traded again. But to me, that's a guy on your roster that if you trade for him, he's in your lineup. The idea would be you could trade Byram possibly for a player that would immediately be in your lineup.
Definitely. I don't think he's any worse than he was when they traded for him. And he played some good hockey here at times. And that's what he did in Colorado. I remember when Colorado won the Cup, that's when I found, who's this guy? Look at him. I thought he was one of their better, other than Makar, I thought he was one of their better guys. I thought he played very, very well through that playoff run for them. And I've seen him play very, very well for the Sabres at times too, as usually with Dahlin. But so he was inconsistent here. He was inconsistent there. That's why they were looking to trade him, because of the inconsistency, and they felt they needed another centerman and they thought they had gotten it in Casey Middlestat, and when he first got to Colorado, it looked like he was going to rip it up for them, and then all of a sudden he didn't. I mean, both players, if you look at it, I think played the way they did with their old teams, very inconsistently. And Colorado with Middlestat, I don't even think they gave him a year. He was gone before I think a year was up, or it just was a year. Well, no, this isn't working out. So, that's the thing is, they don't have to trade him now if there's not a good deal on the table. They've got 2 years to do it. I mean, now if he doesn't want to be here anymore, he's not going to sign a 6-year or 8-year deal or anything like that. He's going to do what Sam Reinhart said, right? Sam Reinhart says, I've got 1 more year here. If you want me to play 1 more year here, I'll play 1 more year, and then I'm gone. And the Sabres wound up trading him before that year started, so they only had a year to do it with him, where with Byram, they've got 2 years. So, they could keep him here for another year, or maybe they might want to see how it goes for another year.
One thing we talked about yesterday, Paul, with Byram was he never, ever really plays power play. And I don't know if you feel like he's someone that could do that.
Yes.
Because,
maybe that's what he wants. Does he want? Is that part of the bigger role?
It's kind of
part of it.
Right.
That is part of it.
It's kind of amazing how many power play points he has in his career. It's 10. 10 points in 270 games. So you'd think the skill set is there. What I'm getting at, Paul, is, I'm not sure the Sabres are of a mind to just do something just for trade value, but if they gave him an opportunity, if they knew they were going to trade him, and like you said, they've got 2 years to do this, they could say, you know what, let's give him some power play time, see if we can boost his point totals, and if he gets his point totals up, maybe we get more in a trade.
And the thing is, Owen Power was no great shakes on the power play anyway, so I wondered a lot. We actually, I remember chatting about this with you guys. It's like, well, why not give him a chance out there? It's not like, I understand that maybe you feel that Power, being the number 1 overall pick, should be a good power play guy, but he really hasn't been so far. And, why not give him a chance? The only time he would get a chance is when Dahlin or Power were out of the lineup, and then he'd get an opportunity. Well, same thing in I'm not surprised at all about his power play points, because what happened in Colorado? There's a guy named Makar over there, and he's not gonna be running the power play there either. He wants to be someplace where he can, and I think he's very capable of doing it. And I just never understood, when things were going so poorly, why not give him the opportunity? Why do we have to sit there and pound your head against the wall, and it's got to be Owen Power? It's got to be Owen Power. It's got to be Owen Power. Why?
Yeah. But, Paul, let's take it from the Sabres side of things. How much of an appetite would there be from them without him saying, hey, I want to be moved, to say, you know what, maybe we need to remake this and we have to pay him at some point here. He is an RFA this year. Or how does it go with him with restricted free agency? He is arbitration eligible.
I would still, you're looking at a deal, I think, it's going to be around between $6 and $8 million. Whether he signs a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, an 8-year deal, which obviously that's not happening. So I think that's what you're looking at right now. So they could, now he could just sign his qualifying offer if he wanted to. And now you can give him a 2-year qualifying offer. It's a 1 or 2 year type of a situation. But that's the thing. The Sabres, again, they would like to get this over. If he has gone in there and said, I don't want to be here, they would like to get it over with. But they're not going to get it over with just to do it, And it's not like, he was moping around or anything like that. You go in the locker room and he's kidding around with the guys, and he fits right in with them, and would usually have a smile on his face, after practice. And it wasn't one of those things, geez, I got to get out of here type of a thing. And, Dylan Cousins being traded away doesn't help either. They were best friends, have been since like 7 years old. Now he's also been best friends with Krebs for many, many years. So he likes the guys around here. I think it's not that he hates the city or he hates his teammates. I think he hates his role. and he just wants to be somewhere where he is going to have a more expanded role.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline chatting with us about the Sabres and Amerks in a moment. Paul, the senior advisor, Kevyn Adams, role, any tumbleweeds rolling by about that? You still think that's something that they will look to do?
Yeah, especially if, they want to be sure, and who knows, how many people they're talking to for that role. So yeah, it's are they waiting for Rochester to be done in Karmanos? Is this a guy that basically would replace him? Are they looking to move him out, but they're waiting for the Amerks to be done, and that maybe they have a guy in mind. If that's what they're doing, maybe they have a guy in mind, and they're not going to announce it until the Amerks are out, and then one would be out and one would be in. That type of a situation. So I don't think it's a big cause for alarm that it hasn't been announced or they don't have a guy yet. They tend to be very, let's be sure, let's do our due diligence and that those types of things. I mean, we haven't heard anything about the coaching staff either. Does that mean they're not doing anything with the coaching staff? Does that mean they haven't found who they're looking for? Does that mean they're waiting for Michael Pekka to make a decision? At least no decision has been announced.
What do you mean by that? Is there? What do you mean by that? Make a decision. What decision is there to make?
Or let the New York Rangers make a decision.
Oh, okay.
Somebody make a decision.
I just want to make sure we're clear. Like, is there something on the table that we're unaware of here for him?
No, not a decision here.
Oh, okay.
What are the Rangers doing with him?
Right.
He did not get fired. So, are they keeping him? Are they not? What's the situation there? If they aren't, would he be interested in coming back here under another head coach? So a guy he's played for, and he likes doing that. I mean, that's one of the reasons he went to New York, because he got to coach with a guy that he played for.
Paul, I bring it up a lot. I talk about like Ryan Miller and Thomas Vanek, who are in the Sharks front office, and Pekka. It's something that is done in the NHL where your alumni kind of become your board of directors or your front office. And I do feel like if Pekka were brought back, that would be a move that the Sabres would get a lot of credit for, locally at least. And again, like he's working for the Rangers, so accomplished enough. I'd be all about that move and bringing another set of eyes, a guy that cares. I mean, I think honestly, Paul, Sabres fans would be encouraged by the idea that people that have been part of the organization in the past are still here and still want it to be great and want to work at it. So, I mean, I'd be on board with the Peck idea.
Yeah, I would also. And if it doesn't work out for Lindy Ruff, that maybe he'd be a guy that he's not going to take a head coaching job till he feels he's ready. And I've always gotten the impression he hasn't felt he was ready yet. I don't know if he's gotten any offers, but I just felt he's always been that way. And a guy like Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller eventually, he said it on our air. He said it in an interview I've done with him that he eventually would like to build a hockey team, being a general manager. But
I'm ready to give him the keys, Paul. I keep saying it. I feel like there'd be another one if they hired him in the same kind of role. Again, you see this in the NHL where he's the GM in waiting. The Blues did this with Alex Steen. Maybe the Briere was this in Philadelphia too, brought on before, and then I would sign up for it.
The thing is with Ryan Miller and what he said to me when we talked about it is he's got to be ready to leave California, and he's not yet.
Yeah,
because he's not going to be sitting in California, even if he took on a Eric Stahl type role. He's going to be there. He's going to put everything he has into it and be there. So he has to be of the mindset that he's ready to move also, which he wasn't ready to do when we had the conversation, which is why he would be doing something with the Sharks, and the opportunity came with Mike Greer, and that's why he would be doing that. Now, Thomas Vanek is a different story, being a Minnesota guy, what does he want to do? Does he want to still coach his kids? Which I think he's still doing, if I'm not mistaken. He's talked about it when he's on with Peters and Reve, coaching his kids and having a great time doing that. That's the same thing with Ryan Miller. He's enjoying being with his kids, and but when the time comes that he's going to be all in, he wants to be all in. And that just at that time when I had a chance to chat with him, he just wasn't there yet.
Paul Hamilton, his appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. All right, Paul, on to the Amerks, who lost to Laval last night. And from what I see in the numbers, and you can speak to this a little bit more, Levi's just not had a great series.
No, he hasn't. He did so well against Syracuse, and you look at it. Mike Leone was on with Duffer and Marty yesterday, and he talks about shot volume, and I've heard him talk about it before. And Rochester usually does it for him. They get shot volume for him because he feels they have the type of team that causes chaos with that shot volume. Well, they certainly got it last night with 33 shots, and Primo made 32. I put up in the article a couple of saves that he had in that game, and Laval had 5 shots in the third period and scored 3 times. The one that he would want back is, Rusick scored at 2:46 and tied the game. It was only a 1-0 game going into the third period. And now it's tied, and it only took Laval a little over 2 minutes to tie it. And it was a goal that definitely Levi would want back. Jacka came in down the right side. He's on the backhand. It was a beautiful backhand shot up under the bar, but you got to have a save there. I mean, you just have to have a save so for your team to keep the game at 1-1. And so far you'd played pretty well, but you hadn't been too busy. Laval had 7 shots in the first period, 8 in the second. And as I said, they got 5 in the third and scored 3 times. So the other goals were just basically a turnover that turned into a goal. It was actually 2 turnovers that turned into a goal. Some battles that weren't won behind the net. So as you watch the goals that Laval scored, they weren't the typical type of goals that Rochester normally gives up. 3 out of the 4 would be goals that, you usually don't see guys standing around the net by themselves, like Tuck, 15 seconds into the game. He's right there. Nobody's with him. He tips in Reinbacher's shot. So that's not the type of defense that Rochester normally plays. And they only gave up 20 shots, so it wasn't like they were horrendous defensively, but they were horrendous on the goals where they just guys weren't being covered.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. So next up for the Amerks is tomorrow night, facing elimination against Laval. They're doing 2 road games in a row because the series goes 2-3.
Right, yeah. And that was Laval's choice.
Right.
They being the higher seed, they had the chance to, go that way or
2-2-1 is the other way, right? Yeah.
Right. So they chose to. All right, we'll go to Rochester. Let's at least get a split, and then we get to go home for 3. And we're the best team in the league, even though Rochester is a good road team, and Rochester's a team that gets off the mat too. They've already done it in this series. They lost game 1 5-4 and played very well in game 2. They won 5-3. It could have been a lot more. They could have won this game. When it was 1-0 for 40 minutes, Primo stood on his head. Primo gave up 4 goals in the first game. He's won 2 games in this series. He didn't get the loss. He didn't play in that game. But so they know they can score on him, but they certainly didn't in this game. He, of course, was the number 1 star, and so he's had one game and one really good game. And look at Levi. Levi had a good game in game 2. He gave up 3, but he played really, really well, and I wouldn't blame him for any of the 3 goals. But he also gave up 5 in game 1, and now he's given up 4 in game 3. So, you look at his numbers in this series alone, it's 4.07 and an .836 save percentage in 3 games, and that's not going to cut it.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. Paul, thank you, and
yes.
Happy birthday to the Sabres.
Yes.
What did you get them? Did you get them anything?
I don't know. What does Sabretooth need?
What does Sabretooth need? I don't know.
Does a Sabretooth need a toothbrush?
A new T-shirt gun.
There you go.
A more powerful T-shirt gun, yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. One.
Thanks, Paul.
Take care, guys.
Paul Hamilton. The Amerks play Laval tomorrow.